My wife filmed me during a PTSD episode and sent the video to a judge. I lost custody of my son because of that single moment. Throwaway because this involves ongoing custody proceedings and I don't want this connected to my main account. I'm 32M and my ex-wife Jennifer is 29F. We have a 6-year-old son named Tyler. What Jennifer did to me 6 months ago didn't just destroy our marriage, it weaponized my military service and mental health struggles against me in the most calculating, cruel way possible. I'm sharing this because I want people to understand how PTSD can be used against veterans in custody battles, and how the people who are supposed to support us through our darkest moments can instead exploit our vulnerability for their own gain. I'm an Army veteran who did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I came back with PTSD like a lot of us do. I've been in treatment for 4 years now, therapy, medication, support groups, the whole protocol. I was making good progress and learning to manage my symptoms. Jennifer knew all of this when she married me 3 years ago. She said she understood and wanted to support my healing. My PTSD manifests in a few different ways. I have nightmares, some hypervigilance, and occasionally, maybe once every few months, I'll have what my therapist calls dissociative episodes, where I'm mentally back in Afghanistan for a few minutes. During these episodes, I might seem confused about where I am or what's happening around me. I'm not violent or dangerous, but I can appear disoriented and distressed. These episodes are triggered by specific things, certain sounds, smells, or stressful situations that remind my brain of combat experiences. My therapist taught me coping techniques, and Jennifer was supposed to be part of my support system. We had protocols for if I had an episode: stay calm, speak softly, help me ground myself in the present, and give me space to recover. Tyler knew Daddy sometimes got confused and needed quiet time. We'd explained it in age-appropriate terms, and he was actually really good at helping me during difficult moments. He'd bring me my stress ball or just sit quietly nearby until I felt better. Kids are resilient and adaptable when you're honest with them. For 3 years, this system worked. My episodes became less frequent and less severe. I was a good father and husband. I worked full-time as an IT specialist, maintained our home, and was actively involved in Tyler's school and activities. Jennifer even used to brag to her friends about how strong I was and how proud she was of my progress. But things started changing about a year ago when Jennifer decided she wanted a divorce. I was devastated but tried to handle it maturely. I suggested couples counseling, asked what I could do to fix our problems, offered to go to more therapy. But Jennifer had made up her mind. I just don't want to be married anymore, she said. I want to focus on myself and my career. The divorce proceedings started normally. We agreed on most things. I'd keep the house, we'd share custody of Tyler, split our assets fairly. Jennifer seemed reasonable and cooperative at first, but then her lawyer started asking questions about my PTSD. During depositions, they wanted detailed information about my symptoms, my medication, my therapy sessions. They requested all my medical records from the VA. We need to ensure Tyler's safety, Jennifer's lawyer said. Mental health issues can affect parenting capacity. I was hurt but tried to be transparent. My therapist provided documentation showing that I was compliant with treatment, that my symptoms were well managed, and that I posed no danger to myself or others. My PTSD was under control and didn't interfere with my ability to parent Tyler. But Jennifer was building a case. She started documenting every small thing: if I seemed tired after work, if I was quiet during dinner, if I had trouble sleeping. She was creating a narrative that I was unstable and potentially dangerous. The trap she set came in March during one of Tyler's soccer games. The game was running late, it was crowded and loud, and I was already feeling somewhat overstimulated. Then someone set off fireworks in the parking lot during halftime. The sudden explosive sounds triggered me immediately. I had a dissociative episode right there in the bleachers, not violent, not aggressive, just confused and distressed. I was mentally back in Afghanistan for about 3 minutes, trying to understand where I was and what was happening. Jennifer was sitting right next to me when it happened. Instead of using the techniques we'd practiced, instead of helping me ground myself like she'd done dozens of times before, she pulled out her phone and started recording. She filmed me during the most vulnerable, frightening moment I'd experienced in months. While I was lost and disoriented, reliving trauma from combat, my wife was documenting my distress for legal purposes. When I came back to awareness and realized what was happening, I was devastated. "Jennifer, why are you recording me? I need to document this," she said coldly. "Tyler shouldn't have to see his father like this." Tyler was sitting on my other side, looking worried but not frightened. He'd seen me have episodes before and knew what to do. He was actually trying to help by staying quiet and getting my stress ball from my bag. "Daddy's having a confused time," Tyler said to his mom. "We should use quiet voices." But Jennifer kept the camera rolling, capturing my disorientation and Tyler's matter-of-fact response to something he'd learned to handle with maturity and compassion. Jennifer submitted that video to the family court as evidence that I was unfit to have custody of Tyler. She claimed that my PTSD episodes made me dangerous and unpredictable, and that Tyler was being traumatized by witnessing my mental health struggles. "The father's condition creates an unsafe environment for the child," her motion stated. As evidenced by the attached video, he suffers from episodes where he loses touch with reality and cannot properly supervise or protect his son. The video was devastating in court. Taken out of context, without understanding my condition or treatment progress, it looked like I was having some kind of psychotic break. You couldn't see Jennifer's calculated decision to film instead of help, or Tyler's calm, practiced response to something he'd learned to manage. The judge watched a 3-minute video of me at my most vulnerable and made a decision that would change my life forever. "While I understand that the father is receiving treatment for his condition," Judge Morrison said, "the video evidence shows a concerning level of impairment that could potentially compromise his ability to ensure the child's safety. My custody was immediately reduced to supervised visits only, pending a comprehensive psychological evaluation. I went from being Tyler's primary caregiver to seeing him 4 hours a week under the supervision of a court-appointed monitor." Tyler was confused and heartbroken. "Why can't I go home with Daddy?" he asked after our first supervised visit. "I wasn't scared. I know how to help when Daddy gets confused." But his feelings didn't matter. Jennifer had successfully convinced the court that my PTSD made me dangerous, using a video she deliberately recorded during my moment of greatest vulnerability. The psychological evaluation process was humiliating and invasive. I had to undergo hours of testing, interviews, and assessments with a court-appointed psychologist who knew nothing about combat PTSD or veteran mental health issues. Dr. Patterson, the evaluator, seemed to view my condition through the lens of civilian mental health problems. She didn't understand that combat PTSD has specific triggers and manifestations that are different from other trauma disorders. "Have you ever been violent during these episodes?" she asked. "No, never. I become disoriented, not aggressive." "But you lose awareness of your surroundings?" "Temporarily, yes, but I'm not dangerous during these moments." "How can you be certain you wouldn't accidentally harm your son if you're not fully present?" It was an impossible question to answer. How do you prove a negative? How do you convince someone that being temporarily disoriented doesn't make you violent or dangerous? Dr. Patterson's report acknowledged that I was compliant with treatment and had no history of violence or aggression. But she recommended continued supervised visitation until I could demonstrate better symptom management. While the father poses no intentional threat to the child, she wrote, his documented episodes of dissociation raise concerns about his ability to maintain consistent supervision and protection. Meanwhile, Jennifer was portraying herself as Tyler's protector and hero. She gave interviews to local news outlets about the challenges of co-parenting with a veteran with PTSD. "I support all our veterans," she said in one interview. "But my first responsibility is protecting my son. I can't ignore warning signs just because they're related to military service." She was using my service and sacrifice as a weapon against me while positioning herself as an advocate for military families. The hypocrisy was stunning. The media coverage painted me as a potentially dangerous veteran who couldn't control his mental health issues. Jennifer's video was described as brave documentation of domestic instability. My 3 years of stable parenting, my compliance with treatment, my progress in therapy, none of that mattered compared to 3 minutes of footage taken during my worst moment. "Local mother fights for custody after veteran's mental health episode," read one headline. The article included Jennifer's photo and quotes about protecting Tyler, but didn't include my perspective or any context about my condition or treatment. I was being portrayed as a stereotype, the broken veteran who came home damaged and dangerous. The fact that I'd been successfully managing my condition and being a good father for years was irrelevant compared to one carefully documented moment of vulnerability. My therapist from the VA was appalled when I showed her the news coverage. "This is exactly why veterans don't seek help," Dr. Williams said. "They're afraid their mental health treatment will be used against them in custody battles." She wrote a detailed letter to the court explaining my condition, my treatment progress, and the nature of my episodes. She emphasized that dissociative episodes are not indicative of violence or danger, and that I'd been successfully parenting Tyler for years. Combat PTSD is a treatable condition that does not impair one's ability to be a loving, capable parent, she wrote. Mr. Johnson has demonstrated consistent progress and poses no threat to his child's well-being. But the court was more influenced by the dramatic video than by clinical expertise. The judge seemed to believe that any mental health symptom was inherently dangerous to children. The supervised visitation arrangement was torture for both Tyler and me. We had to meet in a sterile office with a monitor taking notes about our every interaction. Tyler couldn't understand why someone was watching us or why he couldn't come home with me. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked during one visit. "Is that why the lady has to watch us?" "No, buddy, you didn't do anything wrong. The adults are just trying to figure some things out. When can I come back to our house? I miss my room and my toys." I didn't know how to answer him. I missed him desperately and couldn't understand how a single 3-minute episode had erased years of good parenting. The supervision monitor, Ms. Garcia, was professional but clearly didn't understand PTSD or veteran issues. She'd note in her reports that I seemed tense or withdrawn during visits, not understanding that being monitored while trying to maintain a relationship with my son was inherently stressful. "Father appears somewhat anxious during interactions with child," one of her reports stated. "Child seems comfortable but asks frequent questions about visitation arrangements." Of course Tyler had questions. His entire world had been turned upside down because his mother had filmed his father during a medical episode and used it to take him away. Meanwhile, Jennifer was poisoning Tyler's understanding of my condition. During the weeks he stayed with her, she was teaching him to be afraid of Daddy's confused times. "Remember how scary Daddy looked at the soccer game?" I overheard her saying during a pickup. "That's why you need to stay with Mommy where you're safe." She was retraining Tyler to see my PTSD episodes as frightening rather than manageable. The child who had once been my calm, helpful partner during difficult moments was being taught to fear and avoid me. My lawyer fought hard to get the custody arrangement modified, but the family court system seemed stacked against fathers with any kind of mental health diagnosis. Every motion we filed was met with Jennifer's team citing the video and arguing that supervised visitation was necessary for Tyler's safety. "Your Honor, we have documented evidence of the father's mental health episodes affecting his ability to care for the child," Jennifer's lawyer would argue. "Until he can prove consistent stability, supervised visitation protects the child's best interests." How do you prove consistent stability when you're only allowed 4 hours a week with your child under supervision? How do you demonstrate normal parenting when every interaction is being monitored and documented? The system was designed to perpetuate itself. The supervised visitation arrangement made normal parenting impossible, which was then used as evidence that I wasn't ready for unsupervised time with Tyler. I considered appealing the decision, but my lawyer warned me that it could backfire. "Family court judges have broad discretion in custody matters," she explained. "An appeal could result in even more restrictive visitation if the higher court views your condition as more serious than the trial judge did." I was trapped in a system that viewed my mental health treatment as evidence of unfitness rather than responsibility. The fact that I was actively managing my PTSD with professional help was seen as proof that I was damaged goods rather than someone committed to healing. 6 months into the supervised visitation arrangement, I'd made no progress toward regaining custody. The court wanted to see significant improvement in my condition, but wouldn't define what that meant or how it could be measured. "Continue with your treatment and follow all recommendations," the judge said during one hearing. "We'll reassess in another 6 months. Another 6 months of seeing my son 4 hours a week. Another 6 months of Tyler asking why Daddy can't take him home. Another 6 months of Jennifer controlling the narrative about my fitness as a parent." The financial burden was crushing too. Supervised visitation cost $50 per hour, plus travel time. Legal fees were mounting as we continued to fight for modification of the custody order. I was spending thousands of dollars for the privilege of seeing my own son under supervision. Meanwhile, Jennifer was receiving child support and had moved Tyler into her new apartment with her boyfriend. Tyler was calling another man Daddy, while his actual father was being treated like a potential threat. The breakthrough came when Dr. Williams connected me with a veterans' rights organization that specialized in custody cases involving military families. They'd seen Jennifer's tactics before and knew how to counter them. "Veterans with PTSD are being systematically discriminated against in family courts," the advocate, Maria Santos, told me. "Judges who wouldn't think twice about awarding custody to a parent with diabetes or depression suddenly become concerned when they hear PTSD. Maria helped me understand that Jennifer's strategy wasn't unique. She deliberately triggered my episode by bringing me to a crowded, loud environment where she knew fireworks might be set off. She prepared her phone to record, waited for me to become symptomatic, and documented my distress instead of helping me recover. This was premeditated, Maria explained. She set you up to fail and then used your failure against you. We filed a motion to exclude the video evidence, arguing that it was obtained through manipulation and betrayal of trust. We also requested that Tyler be interviewed by a child psychologist to assess his actual feelings about my condition. The child interview was revealing. Tyler told the psychologist that he wasn't afraid of my confused times, and that he knew how to help when they happened. He said he missed living with me and didn't understand why the court lady had to watch us. Daddy gets confused sometimes, but he doesn't hurt me, Tyler told Dr. Chen. He just needs quiet and his stress ball. I'm good at helping him. Dr. Chen's report contradicted everything Jennifer had claimed about Tyler being traumatized by my episodes. The child demonstrates understanding and compassion regarding his father's condition, she wrote. He shows no signs of fear or trauma related to witnessing PTSD symptoms. We also brought in an expert witness, Dr. Michael Torres, a veteran psychiatrist who specialized in combat PTSD and family relationships. He testified about the nature of my condition and the difference between dissociative episodes and dangerous behavior. A dissociative episode is not a psychotic break, Dr. Torres explained to the court. The patient may be temporarily disoriented, but they retain their core personality and moral framework. There is no increased risk of violence or aggression during these episodes. He also testified about the importance of family support in PTSD recovery and how Jennifer's betrayal could actually worsen my symptoms. When family members weaponize mental health symptoms against veterans, it creates additional trauma, he said. It teaches veterans that seeking help and being vulnerable with loved ones will be used against them. The expert testimony began to shift the court's understanding of my condition. Judge Morrison seemed to realize that she'd been operating on assumptions about PTSD rather than clinical facts. But the most powerful moment came when my lawyer played audio recordings of Jennifer's conversations with Tyler. We'd obtained them through discovery, recorded on Jennifer's own phone. In the recordings, Jennifer could be heard coaching Tyler about what to say about Daddy's scary times, and telling him that he needed to stay with Mommy to be safe from Daddy's sickness. Remember how Daddy acted strange at the soccer game? Jennifer's voice said on the recording. That's why you can't go to his house anymore. Daddy might get confused and not be able to take care of you. Judge Morrison's expression changed as she listened to Jennifer systematically poisoning Tyler's relationship with me. Ms. Johnson, are you attempting to alienate the child from his father? I'm protecting my son from potentially dangerous situations, Jennifer replied. By teaching him to fear his father's medical condition? By helping him understand why the custody arrangement exists. The recordings revealed Jennifer's true strategy. She wasn't protecting Tyler from danger. She was manufacturing fear where none had existed before. After 3 days of testimony, Judge Morrison issued a modified custody order. My supervised visitation was ended immediately, and I was granted shared custody with Tyler spending alternating weeks at each parent's home. The court finds that the father's PTSD does not impair his ability to parent safely, Judge Morrison ruled. The evidence suggests that the child was not afraid of or traumatized by the father's condition until he was taught to be fearful by the mother. She also ordered Jennifer to attend co-parenting counseling to address her concerning pattern of alienating behavior. I cried when I heard the ruling. After 8 months of seeing Tyler 4 hours a week under supervision, I was finally going to have my son back. Tyler's first week back home was emotional for both of us. He was excited but also confused about all the changes and mixed messages he'd received about my condition. Mommy said your confused times were scary, he told me on his first night back. But I remember they weren't scary before. They're not scary, buddy. Mommy was worried about something that didn't need to worry her. But we know how to handle my confused times, don't we? Yeah, quiet voices in your stress ball and wait for you to feel better. It broke my heart that Jennifer had tried to poison his understanding of something he'd handled so maturely before. But Tyler was resilient, and within a few days, he was back to his old supportive self. I've had 2 episodes since regaining custody, and Tyler handled them perfectly. He's not afraid or traumatized. He's a compassionate little boy who understands that sometimes Daddy needs help, just like sometimes he needs help with homework or tying his shoes. The legal battle cost me over $40,000 and 8 months of meaningful time with my son. More importantly, it revealed how mental health stigma can be weaponized in custody battles and how the people we trust most can exploit our vulnerabilities. Jennifer never apologized for what she did. She maintained that she was protecting Tyler, even after the court found that her actions were harmful to his relationship with me. "I did what I thought was necessary," she said after the hearing. "I'd do it again if I thought my son was in danger." But Tyler was never in danger. The only threat to his well-being was having his mother teach him to fear his father's medical condition instead of understanding and supporting it. I'm sharing this story because I want other veterans to know that seeking help for PTSD can be used against them in custody battles. I want family court judges to understand that mental health treatment is a sign of responsibility, not unfitness. And I want people to recognize that filming someone during a medical episode and using it against them is a profound betrayal of trust. PTSD doesn't make veterans dangerous parents, but the stigma around mental health can be weaponized by vindictive ex-spouses to destroy families and traumatize children. My relationship with Tyler is stronger now than it was before the custody battle. He's learned that love means supporting each other through difficult times, not exploiting weakness for personal gain. Jennifer taught him to be afraid. I'm teaching him to be compassionate. I know which lesson will serve him better in life.